It's Louise with Louise Art, and I'm closing in on my last day of being able to paint before the wedding, because I've got to break down this entire room so it can become a buffet service area. So I'm trying to frantically get some pours in before close up shop time. And then we're going to go to North Carolina, so I'm going to be out of the picture for a week. So today I have planned a cloud pearl pour. What else is new? And I'm going to use a white base combined with the same green base that I used the other day on this guy. If you remember seeing him, which turned out really cool. So I'm going to use part of that base in here as a mixture, as a background color, but not to take over the whole thing. Right here I've got my color palette. I've got an Arteza sea green combined with a little pistachio pearl. This is Golden's phthalo green, Golden's carbon black, Golden's quinacridone nickel azo gold. This is a combination of golds, all three, Golden's, Modern Masters, and DecoArt. And this is a combination of Golden's iridescent pearl because I had only a little bit left and I didn't want to waste it, combined with the Liquitex's Cadmium Yellow. So I'm going to use these 6 colors and we're going to get started. I'm going to prep my sides with my Artist Loft paint, and then I will get you down the canvas with the laying of the base. All right, I'll be back in a second. So for any new person watching, one of the things you do is you just prep the sides with some paint so that the pearl pour base will adhere to it as well as the colors. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so now I'm going to lay down the base. And I'm not sure, I want to use this stuff up. This is kind of a sagey color. It was made from scraps. So I'm kind of feeling something going off in this kind of direction. So let's just kind of go with the flow. I'm going to pour white on top. It's almost done. I'd like to use it all up, but I know it's going to take over if I put too much more down. All right, and then the white. I've got the windows open, so I hope things don't blow into the painting. I'm just going to kind of encapsulate that. Encapsulate this. And then we'll just tilt all over the place. And this is all the white I've got, so I hope I have enough. I'm going to save a little out in case all right. So real quick, a side note, last night I was delivering a canvas to a woman who bought one of my paintings, one of my early blooms. This was a deconstructed bloom that I did back in December or January, video number 12, if you want to see that creation. And that same night, I sold 4 sets of tiles. Remember that tile frenzy I've had recently? Well, some of those tiles now have new homes. People were buying them as Christmas presents. I wish I could think ahead that far. Yeah. So that was really felt good to have people like what I've made, that they're buying them. They want to put them up in their homes or give them as gifts, which to me is really cool. So I'm going to pick up the pace here during the tilting portion to save time. And one thing I will point out that I learned earlier on is that when I tilt some of the color off, I used to be afraid to tilt the color off because I thought, oh, I'm going to lose all my color. But what happens is when you tilt back, what you do get is the remnant of that color. So it more or less shows up like a shadow of itself, which is kind of cool. So it's not quite so stark. Just thought I'd add that. So that's what I'm starting with. All right, folks, so again, in the interest of time, I'm going to call out the colors, and that is Golden's Phalo Turquoise, not green, it's turquoise, just making clarity there. The next color I'm laying down is Arteza's Sea Green, which is a pearl that has a little bit of pistachio pearl in it. And then the next color I put down is that cadmium yellow that has a little bit of pearl from Golden. Following that, I've got my Golden's Carbon Black. And then the last color I lay down is the gold combo. And I totally forget to put down my QNAG, my quinacridone Nicolazo gold. I don't know what was in my head. Anyway, I missed that color. So you didn't hear my reaction when I laid down that gold, but there is a big puddle I laid there. So I'm trying to ameliorate it a little bit with some of the base. And then I get to doing a little bit of playing around with a palette knife. I always like to do this with the puddles. I like to just stretch the paints out, let them interact a little bit before I get going to tilt it out. So that's all I'm doing here. There's nothing on the palette knife. I'm just stretching out the colors by themselves. So I had just started to tilt, and that huge mass of green in that bottom corner really got my eye, and I just wanted to blot some of it out. So I'm using my base coat as kind of an eraser, and know that as I start to tilt, some of it will pour off and some of it, like I said before, will come back as like a remnant color. But I just didn't want to have such a stark green on that bottom corner like it was going to be if I didn't do something about it. So I just continued to tilt here, and remember again, with those cloud pearl pours, we're tilting very hard in different directions and then tilting hard back the other way to try to stimulate the pearl action on the edges that will lead into the canvas itself. So it's in here that I'm stretching, and I realize I don't have the quinacridone Nicolazo Gold by Golden, and I'm thinking, oh no, that really would have looked great with that black and gold. But you know, you just keep on going, because at this point, that's all I'm going to be able to do. And you're probably saying, well, geez, you could have swiped it in. But at the time, while I was stretching and playing, I didn't even think about it anymore. So once again, in the cloud pearl pour, you want to tilt very hard in all directions and then back to try to stimulate the pearls by spreading out the paint very thin. So I just take a pause here, which is what we all should do, to take a look at the canvas, see what the painting is doing, think about what I want to do with it. And during this section, of course, I do a lot of playing around with the palette knife. I add color, spread color, and then of course use that straw quite a bit. I also want to point out here that remember in the very beginning when I had the puddle laid down and I ran the palette knife through it in multiple directions. I'm going to call those like extensions or legs from the puddle. I often love doing that because it makes the piece more interesting once it's all stretched out. And I guess as a newer artist and trying to find my artistic voice or vision, I guess I would consider that one of the signature moves I like to do because I like the result that I get after it's all been tilted out. And I also have more opportunity to play with the paints more because there's more extensions from the puddle. It just, to me, makes it more interesting and more fun because now I have places to play around. All right, I'll be quiet for now. So I'll also point out here that earlier I had tried to tilt the canvas up in that direction where there's a lot of white space and couldn't really quite get there because I think the paint was tilted out. So I'm just trying to add some interest up there by adding paint and colors myself and spreading them out as best I can just to balance the piece out because right now the majority of the weight of the canvas is on your left side and I need to get something going off now to the new left side. So to me, assessing the piece is like just seeing what is appealing, what catches your eye, what feels balanced, and what works. And that's always just a matter of opinion and instinct. Another thing you've probably noticed I like to do is stretch out the paint or add a color of paint and then blow it out with a straw to wisp it up a little bit. So I guess as I'm learning about myself as an artist, these are things I need to know about myself. You know, it's really funny because when I first started, I remember almost feeling afraid or intimidated by the canvas and almost hoping that after I tilted, it was done. You know, I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to screw anything up. But, you know, over the last few months, I've realized, you know, you can't screw it up. You can only make it different and then you can try to change it back or change it into something new again. But don't be afraid to touch the canvas and to play around. Trust yourself. All right, before I torture this thing to death, I think I'm gonna call it done. So I think I'm done with this. All right, let's show you guys where we are. Hope it's on camera. There it is. Pretty happy with it. I do like the split base, or two-toned base. So hopefully I can remember to do a flyover after this. So my flyover video just cut off in the editing mode. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. I hopefully gave you some good insight or tips, and see you next time.